All right, Brenda, are you okay? You okay, Brenda?
Me?
Yes.
Brenda Harrison.
I didn't know whether you had your phone,
Morning.
sorry.
Right. Morning, members.
All right, members, we're going live now. Let's start the meeting. Right, good morning, councillors, officers, members of the public and the press. Welcome to this meeting with the Planning Committee. The meeting is a remote meeting being live streamed on website and recorded. I will now hand over to Joe from Democratic Services team.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start the meeting by way of a roll call. I will read out everyone's names. If you can just confirm that you're present, that you have all the paperwork and that you can see and hear everything. The first person on the list is Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher, who I understand we have apologies for, and I understand Councillor Tony Richardson is substituting for him. Tony, are you present?
Yes, and all paperwork.
Thank you very much. Do we have Councillor James Brewer? Nope. I've got apologies in from Councillor Paddy Brown. Councillor Bob Buchan, are you here?
Yes, and I've got all the necessary things.
Thank you. Councillor Tim Fleming.
Yes, I've got the papers and everything.
Councillor Marjorie James.
Yes, I'm here, and as far as I'm aware, I have all the papers.
Good morning. Councillor Jim Lindridge.
Good morning, I've got the papers and I can hear and see you.
Good morning. Councillor Brenda Loynes.
Good morning. I'm here. I've got all the papers and I can hear and see you.
Lovely. Councillor Carl Richardson.
Yes, I'm here. I've got the papers and I can see everybody.
Lovely. Councillor Cameron Storkle.
Hi there. Yes, I've got the papers and I can hear and see everybody.
Thank you very much. I've got apologies from Councillor Mike Young. Are there any other councillors that I haven't named that are here on this meeting?
Myself, just.
Hi, so we've got Councillor Harrison, who I understand is speaking on one of the applications, and I believe, and Councillor Karen King.
Yes, that's correct.
Lovely, thank you very much. Just to remind members, when you're not speaking, if you could keep your microphones on mute, please, to avoid any background noise. When we're voting, it will be by recorded vote. So you'll be asked to mute your microphone, state your vote, and then mute again after you've voted.
Joe, Carl's got his hand up.
Councillor Richardson, did you want to say something?
Can't hear you, Carl.
He seems to be on mute.
Oh. You must be on mute, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all I need to say at the moment. As I've just said, we have apologies from Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher, with Councillor Tony Richardson substituting, from Councillor Paddy Brown and from Councillor Mike Young. And now I'm going to move back to you, Chair.
Thanks very much.
Could I speak, Chair, could I speak, please?
Yes, Jim.
Right, thanks. This isn't a personal issue, right? It's a moral one. And I'm looking at the substitutes that were in place for Stephen Akers-Belcher, which was Councillor Richardson. And at the last full council, we said that Tony Richardson, Councillor Richardson, should not be appointed as a member of any committee for the remainder of the current term, and shall discourage any member from designating him as a substitute. And I feel that that's a complete disregard for the Constitution, and the members of the public need to know that some councillors are not shown due respect to the rest of the members. That is my personal opinion. I think I need to say this before the meeting starts. Thank you, Chair.
Right, I think I need to get clarification then, Joe, from the legal team.
Chair, I've got my hand up.
Who's that, Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on then, Carl.
Yeah, it's on the same thing in the sense that it seems that Councillor Tony Richardson is going against the decision, and other councillors seem to be going against the decision that was laid by full council. I think that unfortunately Councillor Tony Richardson has shown his lack of believing in diversity, by the racist comments that he put on Facebook. Now, I know he may have apologised to it, but the fact is the council came to a decision, and I think it was virtually passed unanimously, and now we have a situation where he's turned up at a meeting.
Well, we've got Tom Graham here, so I'll bring Tom in because he can give us some sort of answer to this.
Okay, well, I've had a quick chat with the Council's Deputy Monitoring Officer, as far as the law is concerned, Councillor Richardson is entitled to step in as a substitute and speak at the meeting and vote in the usual way. The points made by Councillor Lindridge, and Councillor Lindridge has made this clear, have to do with ethics and morals, which are matters for the individual councillor rather than matters for the committee's legal advisor. So I say that's all I can do to assist, really. I say as a matter of law, he's entitled to step in as a substitute in the usual way.
Sorry, Chair, can I just come back? I don't want to make a long issue out of it. I accept the legal response there from Tom, yeah, but it's the moral thing, and I think the members of the public need to know that some members I feel as if they're flouting the rules and they're not playing fair, and I think it brings into disrespect the role of the councillor. But if that's the case from a legal perspective, I accept that. But it needed to be said. I feel as if I needed to say that for the benefits of my constituents and the benefits of the people in the town. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thanks very much. Right, we'll move on with the meeting then. Is there any declarations of interest by members? No. We'll move on to the minutes of the last meeting on the 22nd of July.
I'm sorry, Chair. I would like to make a declaration of interest. I tried to raise my hand, but having problems with that.
It's come up now. Yeah, it's a bit slow sometimes. We've had that before. Like.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Hang on, Jim. Karen has got to declare her interest first.
Yes, this is Councillor Karen King. I would like to declare a personal interest in that my husband works for Home Group.
Right. Thanks very much. Right, Jim, was there something you want to say? You're not on.
Sorry, Chair, I was coughing and I went to switch the mic off, so I my apologies.
Right, thanks very much then. Right, we're going to move on to the items requiring decision. And item 1 is 54 Belk Street, Hartlepool.
Sorry, Chair, we haven't approved the minutes.
Ah, right, sorry, yeah. That's Jim's fault for putting me off. Right, can we have a proposer and seconder to approve the minutes, please? Margie's put her hand up.
I'll second.
And Brenda's put her hand up.
I'm moving the minutes, Chair.
Right, thanks very much.
Them. Okay.
Right, like I said, we'll move on to the items requiring decision. And the first one is 54 Belk Street, Hartlepool. I'm going to ask Dan to take us through the information we've got on that.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. The item starts at page 2 of the PowerPoint and that of your handout. The site relates to 54 Belk Street. Planning permission is sought for a change of use from a residential dwelling to 2 self-contained flats at 54 Belk Street. The property would contain 1-bedroom flat on the ground floor and a 1-bedroom flat on the first floor. The proposal includes a number of external alterations to facilitate the conversion. The proposal is set out in full within the committee report. In respect of the proposed alterations, these primarily relate to the creation of an access door in the existing boundary wall and a porch canopy above the existing access to facilitate access to one of the flats, as highlighted here on the drawing. In terms of the site context, the application site relates to a north-facing 2-storey end of terrace property on Belk Street. As such, the application site has an elevation siding onto Addison Road, as highlighted here. The layout of the site in relation to adjacent properties is shown on page 3 of the PowerPoint as before you. Photographs of the site start on page 8. Here we have a view of the existing front elevation, a view of the side elevation to which the access door will be created within this wall, with further views looking along Addison Road and again towards the rear of the property. The application has been brought before the Planning Committee as more than 2 objections have been received in line with the Council scheme of delegation. The relevant planning history is set out within the committee report. This includes reference to the current application being one of 25 similar planning applications that have been submitted by the Home Group, who are a registered housing association and that are currently under consideration. A number of the applications form part of today's committee agenda. The supporting design and access statement for the applications indicate that the proposed scheme is part of Homes England's Move On project that is, quote, intended to provide necessary accommodation to enable and to support independent living, particularly targeted those leaving homelessness services or domestic violence services. This government-backed strategy is aimed at ending homelessness and to free up temporary accommodation such as hostels. One of the applications that doesn't form part of this agenda but has been submitted relates to the proposal for the provision of a management hub with a flat above at 10 Greenwood Road, which is currently pending consideration. The hub is intended to, quote, provide on-site office space to support customers in nearby properties. Turning to publicity, the application has been advertised by way of 13 neighbour letters and a site notice. To date, there have been 7 objections received, including those from Belk and Cameron Residents Group. These objections are summarised in paragraph 1.10 of the committee report. Turning to consultations, no objections have been received from technical consultees, subject to appropriate planning conditions where necessary, and as detailed within the committee report. These include no objections from the Council's Community Safety Team and Public Protection section. Turning to the main planning considerations that are identified within the report, the host property currently benefits from an existing residential see-through use and is situated within a residential street. The proposal is for a change of use to 2 flats, which would retain the residential see-through use. As such, the general principle of residential development in this location is considered to be acceptable in principle for the reasons detailed in the report. With respect to all of the relevant material planning considerations, including the impact on the character of the area, neighbour amenity and privacy, and highway safety, the proposals are considered to be acceptable in such respects for the reasons set out in the report and subject to appropriate planning conditions. For the reasons set out in the report, the proposal is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Do we move on to the debate now, or is Brenda and Karen going to say questions? Right. Can I have any questions from members, please? Brenda?
Chair, I have my hand up.
Yeah, Brenda got up first and then there's you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things that the objections of people have raised. The proposed installation of the side gate would give access to the rear and make the rear lane unsafe. As I'm looking at it, and I've been around these properties, I've had a good look at them all. I can't see why it would make any difference, because the alley gate is actually in the back. It's before you get to the back gate of the original property, before any alterations. So I can't see there being a problem with that at all. But could you maybe
we bring that back
elaborate on that, please?
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor. As part of the application, we consulted Cleveland Police, who've made appropriate provided advice, but in general don't object to the application. Furthermore, the Council's Community Safety team have been consulted on all these applications, and in all cases have raised no objections. Have in effect they support the applications by virtue of them bringing the buildings back into use. They're also content with the proposed management of the properties by the Home Group, and ultimately it will come down to management. But in answer to your question, the matter has been looked into in terms of safety, and there's no objections from a planning perspective in this respect.
Okay, and also another objection has been raised about the noise. Would there be any insulation put in between the property next door and the property if it was approved?
That's right, Councillor. Public Protection have been consulted on the applications and are also raised no objections, but there is subject to a condition for sound insulation measures to the adjoining properties. That applies across all the applications that are before members today. But so yes, in answer to your question.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, we'll move on to you, Carl, and then we've got Marjorie.
Yes, it's just the question of publicity. how much of Belk Street was notified about this particular house? Well, I believe that, in my opinion, the whole of Belk Street should have been notified about it, but I think it was just a minority of people.
Can you answer that, Dan?
Thank you, Councillor. The application was advertised by way of 13 neighbour letters and a site notice. The site notice, so we're only actually obliged to consult any adjoining properties. However, as is the case with all applications, we tend to go over and above in terms of consultation, realising the importance of that. So in this instance, we've actually gone to 13 properties within immediate vicinity of the site, and we've also advertised it by way of a site notice, which isn't actually a requirement. But to labour the point, we do go over and above when it comes to consultation. So it certainly more than satisfactorily exceeds the minimum requirements. And yeah, we've the application's been well advertised from an officer's perspective.
Is there anything else, Carl?
No, not at this stage.
All right, we'll move on to you, Marjorie. Brenda, you still got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment really on the response given to Councillor Loynes about access. Now, from the information that's been provided on the overhead, the actual door which would allow access to the rear yard of this property is to come in from, is it Addison Road? Now, so there'll be a side entrance. Now, under normal circumstances, all of the properties in that row are accessed via the alley gate and through a back gate from the alley. Now, if this is going to be an additional entrance, then I have some sympathy with other residents saying that there could be a risk to their own properties and the safety of their own properties, because once someone is in the backyard of any of those properties, if the gate is left open, it means that they can go over the internal walls within the back street to any other property that they wish, because the back street walls are not, in most cases, as tall as the actual alley gate. So in some ways, there is a breach going to be made into the safety and security of the back lane, which would allow access to other properties.
Right, thanks very much. Is there anything else? Nobody else? Do I need to bring Brenda and Karen in now? And then we'll go on to debate after that. Right. Can I bring Brenda in first, please? Brenda Harrison. You've got 4 minutes to put your case forward.
Hope I won't take that long. Can I just first of all come back on the communication and consultation that has just been explained? I wouldn't agree that it's been over and above what is necessary, certainly within the Westview area, and I'm afraid that's all I really have information about. It was the properties on either side of the application property and the one opposite. So I suggested to Home Group that that wasn't enough. A leaflet had gone out. I don't think there was consultation as such. And a lot of rumours started before any kind of definite consultation or communication, I would call it, took place. So I would actually question the way that consultation has happened. I'd like to state that I would be in total agreement with the scheme itself that is being put forward by Home Group. And as to why these properties are being changed into flats. I'm not against the scheme itself. What I have great concerns about is the area that's been targeted, and again, specifically, as far as I'm concerned, the Westview area. I don't think Home Group has given enough thought to where these properties are in terms of the intelligence of the area itself. And what happens in the area and what has happened historically. And as far as the relationship between Home Group and its residents are concerned, I have told them, this is nothing new, that it's very poor, the relationship's very poor. They need to do an awful lot of work in order to build on people's trust So I think residents at the moment don't trust Home Group, don't have that kind of relationship with them to think that whatever they're doing is the right thing. And I think that's one of the big problems. So we've got quite a number of concerns, particularly, as I say, within the Westview area. I don't think, as I said, that the information has been enough, although after my suggestion, there's another leaflet going out. But again, I think just specifically to those people very close to the properties rather than the wider community. I do welcome Home Group coming back into the town and having 2 offices, one being in Myers Avenue. And I think that will build relations for the future and get people back on their side, as it were. There is an awful lot of assurances needed by Home Group about this scheme. And there were a lot of rumours that were set off because I think of a lack of openness and honesty in the first place. And I think that, you know, I've made my points to Home Group about that. I think I've covered more or less everything. There is one other thing. As far as the use of the houses are concerned, Home Group have said that there isn't a lot of need for 3-bedroom houses.
We've got 15 seconds, Brenda.
Thank you. I would like to disagree with that. A lot of residents are aware of other people who've put bids in for those houses and have been unsuccessful. So there's quite a few issues there, I think. Thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking.
Right, thank you. Now we'll bring Karen King in, please.
Thank you, Chair. My first priority is the residents' wishes in my ward, because it's their lives that are going to be affected by these planning applications if they go through. They live here 24/7, and it's their lives that are going to be affected. It's their community. So I believe they should have the biggest say when it comes to deciding what kind of community they live in. And I totally agree and understand with their concerns when it comes to things like parking, antisocial behaviour, noise issues, and a whole range of other issues. So I'm totally against these planning applications going ahead. And even more, if you walk around Westview, then you will see there are already empty 1-bedroom flats. So we don't need any more empty 1-bedroom flats, particularly if there are families who want to move into 3-bedroom houses. And so please don't give us any more 1-bedroom flats. We don't need them. We don't want them. Put the residents' concerns first, please. Thank you very much.
Right, thanks very much, Karen. Nobody else got the hands up, is there? No.
Chair, could I just mention we received an email from Councillor Steve Thomas. He's unable to make this morning's meeting, but fully supports the concerns that Councillor Harrison raised about the home housing application. He just asked that committee to be made aware of that.
Right, thanks very much. Right, we'll go into debate now. Does anybody want to bring up any points? I know there's a few already being brought up. Carl, you first on, then Marjorie. Carl? Your microphone's not working. You're on now.
Sorry about that. First of all, I'd like to move that the committee rejects this application. It is not against the scheme as such. For me, it's the area where it's going in. That is, you are trying to put vulnerable people in here, and there is a certain amount of antisocial behaviour. I don't agree with having a situation where you're putting vulnerable people all in one particular area. There is, from the residents' point of view, a fear of crime, and that is a fact. And I wasn't too happy about the publicising of this particular situation. I think there's a heck of a lot of people in that area don't know about the situation and are not being told about these applications. Yes, it's okay putting a few leaflets in a few houses, but I think at the end of the day, I think the vast majority of people are absolutely against this, and it's on the basis of Section 17, the fear of crime. As I say, the principle of it, and I disagree strongly with Councillor King, there is a need for single accommodation, but we shouldn't be putting single accommodation in one particular area. I do fear that if this goes ahead, you could create a ghetto situation in those particular areas, because I think they're too close together. I believe in diversity, and it should be across the town. So I think that the committee should really reject this.
Right, thanks very much, Carl. Can you stick your hand down? Right, Marjorie, it's you now, please. No, you're not on, Marjorie. Yep.
Right, thank you, Chair. I would actually second the recommendation made by Councillor Richardson there. I mean, I am quite familiar with this part of the town, and I am actually only just speaking about the one application at this point. But the additionalities that I would actually bring to bear as well is that it was intimated by Mr. James that these would be targeted at homeless people, and that they would also take people from such as the Women's Refuge. Well, I would suggest to you that most of the women from the refuge would not be adequately housed, as they would have children, and to put a family into a one-bedroom flat, whether it's on the ground floor or the upper floor, in my view, would not be adequate housing. In fact, it would be absolutely inappropriate housing. So I actually support what has been said by both Councillor Harrison and Councillor Richardson. I don't believe that this is needed or wanted in this location. There is a need across the town, but not in this location.
Right, thanks very much. Is there anybody else? Councillor Stokel, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Has the applicant not turned up to speak on their behalf?
No, there's no applicants.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody else? Right, we'll take it to a recorded vote. This is for 54 Belk Street, Hartlepool. Just the one issue at the moment.
So,
can I jump in, Chair?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we need to have properly articulated reasons for refusal. At the moment, there are a number of points have been made, but at the moment, it's not clear exactly what members are voting on, apart from rejecting the proposals. The only things I had down that seem to spring out of the discussion are antisocial behaviour and fear of crime. I mean, if those are the two things that the proposal is going to be moved on, then they need to be clearly articulated so that members know what they're voting on.
Right, thanks very much. Councillor James, you want to come back in?
I do, Chair. If the officer wants articulation on reasons, then I think that fear of crime is a planning issue. There is also the fact that it is inappropriate according to the history of planning in this locality, which is also a planning reason. And I believe that in actual fact it would exacerbate the current antisocial behaviour in this location. And to be honest, if the applicant can't bother to come to the meeting and explain themselves, then I just despair really, because I would take that as a good example of their lack of interest or actual involvement with the community.
Right, thanks very much. Carl, did you have your hand up?
Well, I did, Chair, but I agree entirely with what Councillor James has just said. I do think, and in fact, I would say it's virtually content that the applicant hasn't even turned up. This is an important thing, and as far as the residents are concerned, they feel that this could have a detrimental effect on them, and yet the applicant can't even be bothered to turn up.
Right. We've got two others there, but they're not showing who they are. Is there anybody else want to come in? What's happening there, Joe? That says two others, but there's nobody else's hand up.
I don't think there's anybody else. There's only Councillor James and Councillor. Yeah, there's only Councillor James with a hand up. I think everyone else has spoken that wants to.
Right. I think Councillor James has took hers down now. So.
Okay, can I jump in again, Chair?
Yes, you certainly can, Tom.
Okay, right. Well, what I've written down so far is reasons for refusal, fear of crime and antisocial behaviour. So, as far as my note is concerned, that's what members are voting on.
Right. So this is like 54 Bulk Street, the first item, and we have to vote to either approve or refuse first off, don't we? And then we have a vote after that one. Yeah. So the first vote is whether to approve or refuse 54 Bulk Street. And we're going to go through a recorded vote. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start off with the substitute for Councillor Akers-Belcher, which is Councillor Richardson. If you could let me know if you're for the application, against the application, or wish to abstain, please.
Against.
Councillor Buchan, please.
Against.
Councillor Fleming.
Against.
Councillor James.
Against.
Councillor Lindridge.
Against.
Councillor Loynes.
Against.
Councillor Carl Richardson.
Against.
And Councillor Stokel.
Against.
That's a unanimous vote against, Chair.
Unanimous vote. Do we have to go to a second vote?
Yeah.
Right. So now we're going to vote for the refusal.
Yeah, and the refusal
on the grounds of
fear of crime.
Fear of crime.
And antisocial behaviour.
And antisocial behaviour.
Thank
which
you,
is a
Tom.
proposal put through by Marjorie and Carl. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
again, it's a recorded vote. Hang on. Marjorie's come back on.
I'd just like to speak really, Chair, because I think that we end up getting ourselves into trouble here because the officer is saying that we now need to vote again when I believe that we've already voted quite clearly. Now, can I just ask the awkward question? Who moved the recommendation to approve? Because having it in a document does not mean it's live. Somebody has to move that, and we haven't done so.
Right. You bring the, more clarity on this, Tom.
Yeah, the motion in front of members at the moment is for refusal, and the reasons for that, the refusal are fear of crime and antisocial behaviour. So that's what's in front of members to vote on, and that was moved by Councillor Richardson and seconded by Councillor James.
And Councillor James, I see you want to say something else.
Yeah, we've already voted on that then, because
No.
we've already said that we support the motion moved by two members. But as far as I'm concerned, and I know it's a technical question, so maybe it's a bit more difficult, but nobody has moved the recommendation from officers. Putting something in a piece of paper does not make it a live motion. The only motion on the floor is to refuse.
Yes, well, that's the motion that's on the floor, and my point is that that is now the motion on the floor, and that's the one that's being put forward for a vote.
Right. We'll move to the vote, I think. Carl, do you want to say something?
Well, Chair, the point is, it was unanimous. It's already been pointed out that there was no proposal for it. The only proposal is refused, and it's been passed unanimously.
Yeah, but
I
we've got
think
to
we've
give
been a bit too
we've got to give the
bureaucratic.
reason why we're refusing it, and that's what we voted on the refusal for. I know it sounds daft, but
Well, I think the members of the public will be thinking we're a bit of a laughing stock, actually.
go on, Marjorie.
Make stuff.
Your mic's not on, Marjorie, for some reason.
No, I'd left my hand up there, Chair, but I have removed it.
All right. Well, I think it's for legal reason that we have to have the second vote, so we'll have to go through the second vote whether the public think it's daft or not. So we'll vote for the refusal, and it'll have to be a recorded vote.
Yes, that's correct, Chair. Just check that I am on. Yeah, I'm not on mute. Good. So this is a vote to refuse the application for 54 Belk Street. I'll start again with Councillor Tony Richardson.
Refuse.
So you're for refusal.
Yep.
Right. Councillor Buchan.
For refusal.
Councillor Fleming.
For refusal.
Councillor James.
Refuse.
Councillor Lindridge.
For.
Councillor Loynes.
For refusal.
Councillor Carl Richardson.
Refuse.
And Councillor Storkel.
For refusal.
Thank you. That's unanimous, Chair.
Right, thanks very much. Right, we'll move on to Right, that application has been refused. Do you want to talk on it, Jim, or move on to the next one? Right, we'll move on to item 2, which is 9 Greenwood Road, and we'll get Dan to come in and give us the information on that one.
Thank you, Chair. This item starts on page 13 of the PowerPoint and that of the members' handout. The site relates to 9 Greenwood Road. Apologies. Planning permission is sought for a change of use from a residential dwelling to 2 self-contained flats. The proposal is set out in full in the committee report. In respect to the main external alterations, this relates to the provision of a porch on the front elevation to create a second access door with the blocking up of an existing side access door here. The application site relates to a south-facing 2-storey mid-terrace property on Greenwood Road. The layout of the site in relation to adjacent properties is shown on page 14 of the PowerPoint. Photographs of the application site surrounding start on page 18 of the PowerPoint. Here we have the existing front elevation, further context, and the view towards the rear elevation. The application has been brought before Planning Committee as more than 2 objections have been received. The relevant planning history is set out within the committee report. The application has been advertised by way of 24 neighbour letters and a site notice. To date, there have been 4 objections. These objections are summarised in paragraph 2.11 of the committee report. No objections have been received from technical consultees as detailed within the report. Turning to the main planning considerations within the report, the proposal is considered to be acceptable in principle for the reasons detailed in the report. The proposal is also considered to be acceptable in respect of all of the relevant material planning considerations for the reasons set out in the report and subject to appropriate conditions. For the reasons set out in the report, the proposal is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Are there any questions from members on this 9 Greenwood Road? Right, Carl Richardson.
Yes, if we look at look at page 20, and on where it says 2.22, it even says in there, this could be at odds with the design and character of other properties in the street scene and has the potential to adversely affect the visual amenity of the street scene. Once again, we're having a situation here. Can I ask, I would ask the applicant, do you not think that this would sort of, again, identify an area, people who are going in there who could be suffering domestic abuse? Would this not identify where those people are? Again, I think it's in the wrong area.
Well, we haven't got the...
No, I know.
Home housing here. so we can't answer that one, but it's a good point to bring up. Is there any other points anybody wants to bring up on this that you want to ask the officer?
Sorry, I haven't got my hand up, Chair. Is that okay?
It's up now.
Yeah, it was just a thought. I mean, you know, because the applicant hasn't turned up, could we not defer the application to the next meeting where they may be able to come and show their face and answer questions? Like I say, I've been round all the properties in the last couple of days, and why I feel that, yeah, it's a good idea to combine everybody in the same area and not spread them out across the town. I just would like some answers from the applicant, and we can't get them today, can we? So no. I would prefer to defer it, but it's up to members.
Right, thanks, Brenda. Any other questions? Marjorie?
Thank you, Chair. I would second that recommendation from Councillor Loynes, and to be fair, I would actually second that on behalf of all of the applications in front of us today, because we need dialogue with the actual provider, and quite clearly they're just not interested in coming to the table. So I would take that, as I said before, as an example of the way that they treat their tenants and the communities that they live in. So I would, if Brenda's happy for that, I think that motion applies to all of the applications today.
I would be very happy with that, Marjorie. I just wanted to see members' reaction when I proposed it. That's the thing. But yeah, I think we should defer them all to probably the next meeting.
Once you brought that up, I think it is a valid point, because it would affect all the applications, because they're not here to say anything about them. But I'm going to have to take advice from Tom.
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Chair?
Yes, yeah.
That's fine with me from a legal standpoint, no problem with that at all. It would simply be a motion to defer all the remaining applications until the next committee meeting.
Right, we've had a proposal, I think it was from Brenda and seconded by Marjorie. Sorry, Jim Lindridge got his hand up. Go on, Jim.
So I would concur with the two previous comments. There seems to be a pattern building up here, as though we're trying to locate certain types of people into certain areas within the town. And you do need the dialogue. It is important, I think, if the applicant can't be bothered to show face to answer questions, there's something seriously wrong. And it's been pointed out earlier that there was a lack of consultation with residents really across the town, apart from this area. And I think it is important that we show that transparency. And if we've got questions, and sometimes questions come from other questions, right? And without the applicant being there to actually explain that in detail, in layman's terms, mostly, it's all right having the technical terms, but where you're representing the residents, and as in the previous situation at Belk Street, there was lots of concerns, but as if we were like channeled down to antisocial behaviour and crime, rather than the needs of the residents. So yes, I would support that. Thanks, Chair.
Right. I think we can go straight to the vote on this one, because everybody seems the same way. And it's going to affect all of the rest of the items. So the recommendation is that we put these off to another meeting until such time as Home Housing can attend and answer any questions. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my understanding. Okay.
Right. So we'll go through a recorded vote, and I think that'll bring our meeting more or less to an end after that.
Okay, everyone.
Hang on, we've got one more thing. Dan wants to come in. Yeah, Dan.
Thank you, Chair. So just to clarify that we'll obviously be issuing a refusal notice on the first item, with the remaining 10 items deferred in terms of, because we're on the current 2-week committee cycles, it's unlikely that with the timescale for the agenda to be completed, because we'll obviously need the applicant to confirm they'll be attending. It may not be the next planning committee that these applications defer to, so it's just to make members aware of that. Right. But obviously we'll get it to the next available committee.
The one after that, yeah.
Yes.
Right, we'll go to the The vote, please.
Okay, everybody. So the vote is to defer the rest of the items on this agenda, the rest of the applications on this agenda to a future meeting. I'm going to start with Councillor Tony Richardson. Are you for, against, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Councillor Buchan.
For.
Councillor Fleming.
For.
Councillor James.
For.
Councillor Lindridge.
For.
Councillor Loynes.
For.
Councillor Carl Richardson.
For.
And Councillor Stokel.
For. For.
That again is unanimous, Chair. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right, thanks very much. We move on to items for information. Sorry, my phone. Move on to item 5, items for information.
Yes, Chair. There's a number of complaints that have been received that are listed in that item. If members have any interest in any of those complaints, they're asked to contact our enforcement officer, myself or Dan, and we can update you. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks very much. Moving on to number 6, which is any other business. We haven't got any, I don't think. Is any request for site visits? No. Right, we'll bring the meeting to an end.
No, Tim.
Oh, sorry.
Pink papers.
The pink papers, yes, sorry, I forgot about them. There they are. So we'll move on to the pink papers. So we have to go into a closed session for this.
Sorry, my apologies. It's the minutes. I've mistook the minutes for pink papers. Sorry, it's the minutes from that.
Right, sorry, we don't need to go.
Apologies, members.
Right. We're going to the minutes for the pink papers. Do we have to go into closed session for this?
We need a reason to go. We need a reason to go into confidential. I mean, I haven't been provided with any pink papers, so what's going on at this point?
Yeah. Linda?
Information.
It's Marjorie. Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I suggest that as far as I've got papers, I've only got a couple of pink pages on the back of the minutes. So can I formally move those minutes?
Yes, can I have a seconder for that?
I'll second them, Chair.
All right, we've got a seconder as well. This one here. We're just holding it up a second because the member hasn't got the pink papers. He's just going to look at them before we actually accept them. Right, if members are agreed, we'll move on, and there's no site visits down. The next committee meeting's on Wednesday the 19th of August at 9:30. And I can bring the meeting to an end, can I? Yes. So.